Hello viewers, welcome to Telugu One Academy. So now we see what are the features of this fundamental duties. What are the salient features? What are the characteristics of these fundamental duties? So we say in all these 11 fundamental duties, we generally see there are two types of duties. One is moral and one is civic duties. Moral is where we have an inner feeling, morality or ethics. So this we have got from our culture. We have a very deep culture in India and we have many religious scriptures like you take Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Quran, Bible. So all these religious scriptures give us certain things, certain spiritual things which we generally follow in our lives. So even in fundamental duties, when we say you need to respect others' culture, you need to follow certain ideals. So all these things are morality which we generally have in any religion. We have civic duties, that is what you are doing towards your community, towards your fellow men. When you are in a group or in a society, in a community, you could not behave as you like. You have some civic responsibility. So in fundamental duties, we have both moral duties and civic duties. నైతిక మరియు పౌర విధులు. నైతికత అంటే మొరాలిటీ, అది మనకు చాలా స్క్రిప్చర్స్లో, మన రిలీజియస్ స్క్రిప్చర్స్లో మెన్షన్ చేయబడి ఉంటుంది. మనము ఎలా ఉండాలి? ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, పెద్దవాళ్ళని, ఉపాధ్యాయులని గౌరవించడం అది మన ధర్మం, మన సంస్కృతి. అది ఎక్కడా మనము రాసుకోలేదు. సో వన్యప్రాణుల వైపు మనము ఒక ప్యాషనేట్గా ఉండాలి, వాళ్ళని హింసించకూడదు. ఒక స్త్రీని ఎంత గౌరవం ఇవ్వాలి, సో అది మన స్క్రిప్చర్స్లో మెన్షన్ చేసి ఉంది. అది మనము ఫాలో అవుతాము. అది మన మొరాలిటీకి, మన ఎథిక్స్కి తెలిసినవి. సో అలాంటి కూడా కొన్ని విధులు ఉన్నాయి. సమాజంలో, ఒక సొసైటీలో ఎలా ఉండాలి, 10 మందిలో ఉన్నప్పుడు మనల్ని ఎలా బిహేవ్ చేసుకోవాలి అనేది కూడా ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్లో, ప్రాథమిక విధుల్లో మెన్షన్ చేయబడి ఉంది. సో వీ హ్యావ్ బోత్ మోరల్ అండ్ civic duties, and there are many duties which refers to the values. విలువల పైన మాట్లాడుతుంది. సో హ్యూమన్ వాల్యూస్, we should have humanism, we should mold in such a way that we respect others sentiments. సో ఇలాంటివి కొన్ని విలువల గురించి కూడా మనం మాట్లాడడం జరిగింది. ట్రెడిషన్స్, మన సాంప్రదాయాలు ఎలా ఉంటాయి, సో విలువలు మరియు సాంప్రదాయాలను సూచిస్తుంది. సో దెర్ ఆర్ మెనీ ప్రొవిజన్స్ అండర్ ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ విచ్ రిఫ్లెక్ట్స్ అవర్ వాల్యూస్, అవర్ ట్రెడిషన్స్, అవర్ ఫెయిత్, అవర్ కల్చర్. సో ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ దట్ సంథింగ్ ఈజ్ వెరీ న్యూ టు అస్, something which are superimposed on the citizen. Generally we do follow these things. So when we criticize fundamental duties, generally there is a word. Indians are in general abide the constitution, or they do not go against the constitution. Generally they abide the rules. Then why do we need fundamental rights or fundamental duties mentioned in the constitution? So that is the deep culture what we have. But there is also necessity when the constitution provides us with fundamental rights. It is also mentioned that some duties need to be as a reminder, there should be some duties which are expected by a common citizen. So when we say features of fundamental duties, we have moral and civic duties in all those 11 fundamental duties. These duties refers to values and traditions. And one more important thing is fundamental duties are applicable only to citizens of the country. So fundamental duties are applicable to only citizens. ఇక్కడ ఉన్న పౌరులకు మాత్రమే ఇవి వర్తిస్తాయి. So as similar to directive principles of state policy, even fundamental duties are not enforceable in the court. When I say non-justiciable, it is court cannot issue writ for enforcement of fundamental duties. వీటికి న్యాయ సంరక్షణ ఉండదు. ఇవి ఖచ్చితంగా ఎన్ఫోర్స్ అవ్వాలి అని కోర్ట్ చెప్పలేదు. ఎప్పుడైనా ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ కానీ ఎన్ఫోర్స్ చేయలేము. సో వీ కెనాట్ మూవ్ ద కోర్ట్ అండ్ కోర్ట్ కెనాట్ ఇష్యూ రిట్స్ ఫర్ ద ఎన్ఫోర్సబిలిటీ ఆఫ్ fundamental rights. As we seen in fundamental rights, the court will issue writs. Here there is not such thing. So fundamental duties are non-justiciable. They cannot be enforced by the court. But we cannot say that they do not have force in the law of the land. Yes, there are many legislations which backs the enforceability of fundamental duties, as we have with suitable legislations. For example, any action of a citizen which is a threat to sovereignty, unity and integrity of the nation, then there are many laws. For example, we have unlawful action prevention. So by UAPA, we have sedation law, we have preventive detention law. Those actions which are against the sovereignty, unity or integrity of the state has certain laws mentioned in things like Indian Penal Code, we have CRPC, Criminal Procedure Code, we have CPC, Civil Procedure Code. So all these laws will punish such person. So we cannot just say that fundamental duties are not enforceable. Though the court cannot issue writ, but by several legislations of the parliament, we enforce these fundamental duties if any action of the citizen goes against the constitution. So these are enforced by suitable legislations. We have, for example, Domestic Violence Act. If any action is against the dignity of the woman or derogatory to the woman, such persons are punished. We have Anti-Dowry Act, we have Anti-Domestic Violence Act. For example, we have Nirbhaya Act. So many acts are there, many legislations are there which enforce these fundamental duties. The criticism. Here we have done the big background or the basics of fundamental duties. We have done all those 11 fundamental duties mentioned in part 4A under article 51A. We have discussed features, that is characteristic features of fundamental duties. Now we move on with criticism of fundamental duties. See, when we say criticism, you should know what are the defects in fundamental duties. We are not criticizing fundamental duties like we don't need fundamental duties or fundamental duties are not needed. No, we have fundamental duties, but there are some loopholes there. That is what the thinkers or the experts of constitution, the analysis who make analysis, they give certain points on the basis of which we criticize the fundamental duties. Here, when we criticize the fundamental duties, we say that fundamental duties are not exhaustive. See, we have mentioned only 11 fundamental duties in our constitution, but is this enough? Do we have only 11 duties to follow? We may have many such things, but we could inculcate or we could insert only limited duties. Not every single action is expected from any citizen. So when we criticize fundamental duties, we say that they are not exhaustive. అంటే అది మొత్తం కాంప్రహెన్సివ్ కాదు. అన్ని డ్యూటీస్ ఎవరైతే ఒక రెస్పాన్సిబుల్ పౌరుడు చేయవలసిందో అలాంటి అన్నిటినీ మనం రాసుకోలేము. మనకి 11 ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ మాత్రమే ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ క్రిటిక్స్ ఏంటంటే ఈ 11 ఫండమెంటల్ డ్యూటీస్ అనేది కాంప్రహెన్సివ్ కాదు, చాలా డ్యూటీస్ని మనం వదిలేసాము, మనం కాన్స్టిట్యూషన్లో రాసుకోలేదు. సో ఆన్ దిస్ బేసిస్ వీ కెన్ సే దట్ ఇది సమగ్రమైనది కాదు, ఇట్ ఈస్ నాట్ కాంప్రహెన్సివ్. సో we in future may also add few many duties depending upon the requirement. But as of now, we have 11 duties mentioned in our constitution. We criticize fundamental duties on one more thing, that ambiguity. Ambiguity ante there we have no clarity of the words. When there is a word like value or composite culture, these words cannot be defined. We do not define these words. So these words cannot be codified. So here definitely a common man or court itself will get confused. So వీటికి ఒక నిర్ణీత అర్థాలు లేవు. There is no clear meaning for such words. When we say value, when say ideals, when we say spirit, I mean these words are not clearly defined. So there may arise a sense of ambiguity, that is ambiguous, when there is any conflict between fundamental duties and fundamental rights, or between fundamental duties themselves. So that is where we criticize fundamental duties. We also say that moral precepts, the things of morality, the things like dignity, these things cannot be codified. We cannot value them. We cannot write them at one place. So these are the things which are to be felt. These are inner thought of any person. So these things cannot be codified or defined. So that is where we criticize fundamental duties. So these are superfluous. Fundamental duties are superfluous. That is, when we say fundamental duties are mentioned in the Constitution, what is the Constitution? Constitution is the highest supreme law of the land. And we say Constitution is the people. People have written the Constitution. It is by ourselves. At one hand we say Constitution is sovereign. That is, people has given themselves the Constitution. And on other thing, the same Constitution reminds the same people of their duties. So there is a big confusion here. When we have written our own constitution and the constitution is for ourselves, then how could some same constitution will remind us for following some duties? That is what the critic says. It says that the fundamental duties are superfluous. ప్రజలచే సార్వభౌములు అది గ్రహించిన రాజ్యాంగం వారి విధులను నిర్దేశించడము సమంజసం కాదు. The same constitution which the people have given themselves are saying that you should also follow certain duties. That is where we call it as superfluous. This is, its value is reduced by adding in part 4. See, when we give such a important two fundamental duties, they act as reminders. These fundamental duties act as reminders for the citizen to perform certain duties or to take upon themselves certain responsibilities which is good for the nation. So if we say that they are such important things, so they need to be part of fundamental rights. But here we have added to part 4, which are directive principles of state policy. Critics also say that there should be a separate part for fundamental duties. Why only one article, that is 51A. So critics says that we have reduced the significance of fundamental duties by inserting them, by amending the article 51, adding 51A and adding A to the part 4. So that is also one of the critics, where they assume that the significance of fundamental duties has been decreased. So that was the critics of fundamental duties. Now we see what are the significance of fundamental duties, how they add to the life of a citizen, how they add to the development of the nation. So importance of fundamental duties, very important thing, it serves as a reminder. Each and every time fundamental duties serve as a reminder the what a common citizen should act, how should he behave, what are their fundamental duties to be followed, what is their responsibility. Now every time we see when there is a national flag, we need to respect national flag. When we hear national anthem, we need to stand up. So these are the reminders for a citizen to know their responsibilities, to protect environment, to cherish the ideals, to respect women. These are the things what we have mentioned in fundamental duties, and these act as a reminder to any citizen. So very politely, we cannot say that fundamental duties just are reminders. They are warning also. If you are not performing your duty, which is mentioned in the Constitution, or your actions are against the Constitution, then obviously there are certain laws which punish you. So we do have certain legislations which punishes certain acts which are against the Constitution. So we cannot politely say that fundamental duties are just reminders. They are warning also, warning against anti-national activities. So warning against anti-social activities. You cannot just assemble and talk something about our country which is not in the interest of the people. You cannot derogate any institutions. You cannot have a word. You cannot contempt the court process. You cannot have a word against the legislative process. So having a national activity is a punishable act. We have sedition acts which punishes a person who talks or whose action is against the nation. So fundamental duties are also warning against such citizens. When we say every citizen should cherish and follow certain ideals, every citizen should have a responsibility to protect the sovereignty, integrity and unity of the nation. If any action disturbs such integrity or is a threat to sovereignty of the nation, then these acts, there are certain acts which will punish such person. So they are not mild reminders, they are a stringent warning also. Fundamental rights are a source of inspiration. We have seen all these fundamental duties are source of inspiration. So many things we would generally get inspiration from these fundamental rights. When we say we need to protect our environment, we need to protect forest, lakes, wildlife. So we are getting some inspiration from fundamental duties. It also helps the court in minimizing the confusion. That is, whenever we feel some ambiguity, court will take help of fundamental duties, the provisions mentioned under fundamental duties. So if there is any problem with these, then there are certain laws. If any citizen is not abiding with the provisions mentioned in fundamental duties, there are certain laws which impose penalty for not abiding or not being responsible or not following these duties. So this is the significance We have a Verma Committee. After Sardar Swaran Singh Committee, Verma Committee was appointed to observe the existence or working of fundamental duties. So Verma Committee has observed many legislations which support fundamental duties or which have certain legislations which will punish the actions which are against the fundamental duties. So prevention of insults of national honor, it could be insulting national flag or national anthem. We have this law. Under this, the citizen will be punished if that particular citizen dishonors national anthem or national flag. We have protection of Civil Rights Act 1955. So when we say we need to respect others' sentiments, others' religions, we need to protect our composite culture. If any citizen fails to do that, they would be punished under this act. When we say Unlawful Activities Act, if any action of a citizen is against the sovereignty or integrity of the nation, if that particular action incites to offense, then such person is punished under this act. That is the reason we say that fundamental duties are also enforceable, but by certain legislations. They may not have the enforceability, and we say they are non-justiciable. Court cannot issue writs, but we have several legislations which protects or which punishes such citizen who do not abide by these provisions mentioned in fundamental duties. So we have Representation of People Act. This is regarding elections. Representation of People Act. You cannot disrespect institutions mentioned in the Constitution. Wildlife Protection Act, where you should protect and preserve our national heritage, be it showing compassion towards wildlife, towards environment. So we have Wildlife Protection Act. Very stringent punishments are there in this act. It will reduce poaching. That is, if any person poaches wildlife or kills any wildlife or endangered species, such persons are punished. We have Forest Conservation Act. So these are all few legislations which gives teeth to the legislature or to the enforcement agencies to make the citizen deterrent when they think of not following certain duties. When you just jump a signal, red signal, or if you pollute your surroundings, then also there are certain acts which punishes you. So we need to be very responsible when we are in the society, and it is our duty to maintain such dignity when we are in a society. We personally should be very responsible, and we also need to make aware of these fundamental duties to other people also. So what are the other recommendations mentioned? Though we do not added all these things in fundamental duties in Article 51A, but we could have these recommendations also. See, January 3rd should be celebrated as Fundamental Duties Day, because the fundamental duties have came into power from this day. January 3rd should be celebrated as Fundamental Duties Day every year. ప్రతి సంవత్సరము జనవరి 3 అనేది ప్రాథమిక హక్కు విధుల దినోత్సవం లాగా పాటించాలి. In every educational policy or any curriculum, any syllabus of the university, there should be a mention of fundamental duties. Fundamental duties should be added in the syllabus of schools, universities, colleges, so that the people try to understand and know what fundamental duties are. From their schooling age, they should take the responsibility as a responsible citizen. They need to know what are the duties when we are fighting for our rights, At the same time, we need also be having certain duties towards our community, towards our country. So in every curriculum, fundamental duties have to be included. అన్ని విద్యా ప్రణాళికలో ప్రాథమిక విధులను పాఠ్యాంశంగా చేర్చాలి. సో ఇట్ షుడ్ బి ఇన్క్లూడెడ్ ఇన్ ద కరిక్యులం ఆర్ సిలబస్. So every time we are talking about fundamental duties, but many people, as we have a lot of illiteracy in our country, many people do not know what fundamental rights are, what DPSP are, what fundamental duties are. So it is the responsibility of state and also individually for community to promote the sense of campaign. Like we have to bring awareness among the citizens. We have to make them know what fundamental duties are, what a citizen should do towards the nation. When they know about their rights, they should also aware of their duties. So here awareness campaigns should be promoted and publicity should be made. As whenever we have elections, the election commission will spend lot of money to create awareness, to make people know the importance of the vote. At the same time, all bodies, autonomous bodies should come together to make awareness and publicity by all media, be it print media, electronic media, social media, whatever it is. The people should make aware of their duties. That is only when we could say that people are responsible, because many of them do not know what their duties are. Then we should set a autonomous body, an ombudsman body, which looks into the matter of fundamental duties exclusively. So there should be an ombudsman, like what generally we have, like Lokpal, Lokayukta. Similarly, we should have an agency which is independent from the legislature and should focus on the implementation of fundamental duties or making aware of fundamental duties to all the citizens. So again, in the process of promoting or propagating the fundamental duties in any public places, we should have the charter of fundamental duties. For example, in metro stations, bus stations, airports, schools and colleges, government offices, mandal offices, we should have a charter of fundamental duties so that the citizen should know about their duties. So that should be displayed. As we have citizen charters, in the same way, the list of fundamental duties need to be displayed in public places. So every citizen should know what are their duties, not just their rights. They should be also aware of their duties. So there should be a display of fundamental rights. సో దీస్ ఆర్ ద థింగ్స్. వాళ్ళు క్యాలెండర్లో ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ గురించి రాసుకోవచ్చు, డైరీలో ఆవిష్కరణలో వాళ్ళ డైరీలో, అది గవర్నమెంట్ ఎంప్లాయీ కావచ్చు, ఎనీ ఎంప్లాయీ ఆర్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్, వాళ్ళ డైరీలో వాళ్ళ ప్రాథమిక విధులను క్లియర్గా పొందుపరచుకోవచ్చు. సో బహిరంగ ప్రదర్శన చేయాలి, ఫండమెంటల్ రైట్స్ని ఓపెన్గా పబ్లిసిటీ చేయాలి, అందరికీ తెలవాలి ప్రాథమిక విధులు ఏంటి, వాళ్ళ ప్రాథమిక హక్కుల గురించి తెలుసుకున్నప్పుడు అంతే ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ప్రాథమిక విధులను కూడా ఇవ్వాలి. That is one thing, display and publicity of fundamental duties. There should be a restriction on broadcasting of any content which is against the beliefs and sentiments of some sections of the people. So, because it is the duty of that broadcaster or that particular agency to see that the sentiments of the people are not hurt. So, many contents we see in serials or in any series, movies, we see most of the content which may sometimes hurts to the other section of the people. Such content should be censored, and it should be the duty of that following producer or director or actor to take that their action should not hurt the sentiments of other people. So that should be taken care of, because we are multi-religious, multicultural society. We need to be very cautious. So books and pamphlets are prepared to propagate fundamental rights. There are many organizations, NGOs, civil society groups who should come front and publish these materials regarding fundamental duties. Pamphlets or leaflets, books are printed and distributed at public places so that everyone should have awareness about their fundamental duties. One another recommendation is NCC should be made compulsory in all educational institutions. NCC is National Cadet Corps, because in our fundamental duty we also said that the state could ask for your service to defend the country. So NCC, they are like given a very good training in terms of military. So NCC should be made compulsory in all schools, colleges and universities. So that brings them a sense of integrity, a sense of fraternity, brotherhood. They would cherish the ideals of the nation. They respect the sentiments or culture of other people. That sort of broad-mindedness is created when there is a part in NCC, National Cadet Corps. Thank you. This was on fundamental duties. Please do subscribe to watch my more videos. Thanks for watching my video. Thank you.